We're Laura and Cindy, and you're listening to the Holistic Horsemanship and Husbandry podcast, where we talk about natural horsekeeping and deepening your connection with your horse. I'm Laura, your horse care mentor. I teach natural horse management practices after working with over 200 horses and seeing how current industry standards are compromising the health of the horse.
And I'm Cindy, your horsemanship mentor, offering a proven and unique approach to creating deep connections with your horses from 20 plus years of experience, including working with wild Mustangs. If you enjoy this conversation, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you're listening to us so we can get this podcast into the ears of more passionate horse people. Today, we are going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into a topic that I believe comes up perhaps in every one of our episodes. And if not, it's a very high percentage. And that topic is the autonomic nervous system. And what I'm noticing in a lot of the people that I follow and a lot of posts that I read on social media, whether it is with horses or isn't, is the nervous system is a hot topic right now. And I believe it's a hot topic because it is a root to what drives humans and horses. And I could even say dogs, maybe cats. I don't know. Cats are their own. Cats are like aliens. We haven't quite really figured them all out yet. But let's stick with the horses and the humans. It is a root into all things that makes us operate in these physical bodies. It's not a fad topic. It is not going away. Like a lot of the positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, a lot of these other topics that come and go in the horse world, I do not believe this is one that's going away. And I believe that it is at the heart of the paradigm shift we're seeing in the horse world. Would you
I'm
agree?
gonna zoom that out and say it is at the heart of the paradigm shift we're seeing in the world. I think that right now, especially if you're in the United States, the ability to remain regulated in your nervous system is one of the most powerful forms of resistance you can have.
Yes, I agree 100%, Laura. And I think what is standing out more in humanity, especially in the United States of America, we love you, but we also pray for you. And we
And
are
us,
both
we
we are
are
both
you.
American
Yes.
citizens. Um, we see more deregulated nervous systems in our world right now than we see regulated.
100%.
And the way that, and this is not new, okay? This is centuries and centuries of deregulated nervous systems. And you know who is profiting the most from this epidemic we're experiencing is the pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows, or no, that's not true. We are just learning to understand the autonomic nervous system, and the health industry is just now beginning to address it more earnestly. But we've been bandaging it in our horses and our humans
Mhm.
with the pharmaceutical companies. So we're going to try and keep this captivating for you. And hopefully, we will also even be able to share it in a way that it resonates with you personally and you see it in yourself and in your horses. That's our goal. Let's hope we hit it. So, the autonomic nervous system is made up of two parts. There's the parasympathetic nervous system. That part of our system is the part that creates our ability to be calm and responsive and completely grounded within our body. And when we're there, we are releasing endorphins and serotonin. When we are in our sympathetic nervous system, that reptilian part of our brain gets activated, and our fight or flight or freeze is activated. And when that happens, we and horses, so this is side by side, everybody, but I'm starting with the human, we cannot think. We are totally in reactive survival mode. And biologically, that it's a biological reason that we're in that place where we cannot think, we react. And the reason for that is we're releasing adrenaline and we're releasing cortisol and these amazing things we live in called bodies. The brain tells it we are in danger, again, for horses and humans. And blood flow and oxygen slows down its flow to every single part of our body except for our heart, our lungs, and our muscles, because that is all that is needed in order to survive. When the stimulus is gone, the first thing that happens is there's a dopamine hit. So you become a dopamine junkie, you become an adrenaline junkie because the stimulus is gone and we get that dopamine hit. What happens biologically is we start to take deep breaths. We may notice we have cotton mouth. That's where the lick and the chew comes for the horse. But our body, within that release of the threat, we start taking deeper breaths, and the blood and the oxygen begins to return to all of our organs, including our brain. And now we can start to think and respond to what happened. We may notice we have to go to the bathroom. We may notice we need a drink. We're back what we call fully grounded within our bodies. Is there anything you want to add there, Laura?
No, that was perfect. Um, and I think just where we're going with this is, um, I don't always know when I'm trimming a horse if a client is aware of something and not saying anything, or if they're not aware. But regardless, you being aware of where you're at and being aware of where your horse is at and responding appropriately to those two scenarios will solve 95% of problems in your horsemanship journey.
Yeah. 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 I mean, really, we just gave you the golden secret. And there's so many layers to that.
Yeah. It's if it was that easy, my God, we'd all be just doing amazing things on horses all day long. But it is not that easy, but it is that simple.
Exactly. And hopefully, what this does, and please listen to that more than once because there's power in those words that she just shared. When you're with your horse, you are now a herd of two. When Laura's trimming, there's a herd of three. If there's horses standing tied, waiting, which I wouldn't imagine Laura would be doing that. But anyway, you're at least a herd of three when I'm
More than
working with.
likely, horses standing around in a field, like grooming on the horse while I'm trimming them.
Right. So there's a herd. My point
Yeah.
being is when you come into the presence of a horse, you have now become a part of their herd. They're not a part of your family. Okay. So we have to understand the horse. We have to think like the horse. We have to engage with the horse the way a horse understands. So if we can first learn about our own autonomic nervous system and when it's regulated and when it's deregulated, aka when I'm in parasympathetic or when I'm in sympathetic, or what I teach my horses and my human clients is to be in that neutral zone where I'm grounded and present. I'm aware, or is my mind racing? Am I feeling emotions coming up? Do I need to address them? Or is it just something coming up that I can breathe through and let go? That's the neutral zone. Something's coming up in my environment that catches my attention, that kind of puts me a little bit into that sympathetic nervous system. I check in, my brain checks in, my mind checks in and says, is this real? Do I need to address it? Or is this triggering something that has happened to me in the past? And therefore, I'm going to just breathe through it and let my autonomic nervous system know we are safe. Breath puts you in parasympathetic nervous system. Well, nice, deep in for 4, hold for 4, release for 4, puts you in parasympathetic. Does not.
Yeah.
Just breathing into
Yeah.
your chest does not. Belly breathing does. So I would encourage you guys to play with that.
And be aware, this is a problem that I have all the time that just makes me crazy, is while you are taking conscious control of your body and getting back and grounded, your overthinking lizard brain might just be concocting more scenarios in
Mm-hmm.
which to pull you back up into that state of arousal that you don't want to be in. And so when people say, deep breaths don't work for me, it's like, well, you have to stay with it until your lizard brain quits. And if you let your lizard brain win, then no, deep breaths do not work. And, oftentimes when I'm in that space, if someone suggests to me to take some deep breaths, I want to smack them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, so this is such a imperfect process that you have to engage with and not dismiss.
Ready to unlock true freedom with your horse? Join Unbridled Freedom, our private Facebook group for women on a spiritual journey in horsemanship. We don't fix our horses, we transform ourselves. This is your space to embrace challenges, celebrate victories, and deepen your bond with your horse. If you're ready to lead with wisdom, compassion, and inner peace, join us today. Let's dance with our horses as one. The link is in the show notes below.
It's like anything that we want to get better at. And because we're all horse women here and men, if you're here, we know all about that. We didn't know how to sit a trot until we worked on it. I can't tell you how many women I talk to. I don't know how to sit a trot. I bounce all around. I need to post. No, you need to know how to do both. Because sitting a trot is where you learn to connect and feel your horse. So you didn't just automatically learn how to get in the saddle without flopping your ass down heavy on the horse's back. You didn't learn how to do the halter just by the first time you did it. Okay, so deep breathing for me doesn't work is a cop out.
Yeah.
It's your monkey mind or your lizard brain saying, hell no, that's not how we do this. Because what I'm doing by keeping you in that short, shallow breathing and in that adrenaline driven cortisol state is keeping your ass safe.
Right.
What keeps you able to return to the cave every night and tell your family you survived. So that doesn't need to be disciplined and shamed and guilted. It needs to be treated like a puppy
Yeah.
who's learning a little bit of self control. Okay. And literally, I used the puppy, you guys, because when I was starting this back in 2000, in my mind, anybody that knows me knows I had a sucky, abusive childhood growing up and married into more of the abuse until I met my rock that I love dearly now. Um, I was always in survival mode. And actually, just this last year, I've been really diving deep into owning that my comfort zone has always been survival and that it's sneaky, man. That nervous system is sneaky. It will put you in survival mode and you will be so sure that you're calm and parasympathetic, but you're not. You're in that survival mode. But I've kind of gone off. But what I'm trying to say is the way that I started by it's a puppy, my monkey mind that thinks it needs to be this way to keep me alive, which it did for many, many of my lifetime years, is doing the best it can with the tools it has, just like a horse who hasn't been taught any better. They're doing the best they can with the information they're being given based on their past experiences. So when I would say, hey, little puppy, why don't you take 5 minutes and go lay in your bed with a chew toy? And then I would just breathe, and every time that mind would be blah 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 blah, yeah 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 yeah, I'd be like, no no no, we still just have, oh, we have 3 more minutes. Just go lay down. So don't try and do it in a day. Just try and do it for a minute,
Yeah.
moment by moment, because really that's how our horses live, is in the present moment. What's happening right here, right now? Oh, my human feels like there's chaos about to unfold, so I need to go there with them. Or, oh, wow, my human's taking some nice deep breaths. Maybe I can too.
It's all just in the deep awareness of where you're at right now. And I'm going to use the example of watching other people with their horses, but I just want everyone to know that like I have these patterns too, and I do this too. And this isn't me preaching from a place on high. This is it's so much easier to see in other people than it is to see it in yourself. But I don't work with a single person. I don't think a single person listening to this podcast is here who doesn't want deep, loving connection with their horse.
I agree.
Horses live in a very physical, very energetic field. And when you are completely tapped out of your own physical, energetic presence, up in your lizard monkey brain, there is nothing but chaotic energy there for them to connect to.
Or move away from.
Right. Like, no, that repels them. And so I see this unfold all the time where the person is disconnected and having their own thing going on. And then if the horse does the perfect thing and doesn't create a pattern within the person will often soften and be able to find their way into it. But that doesn't happen hardly ever. What usually happens is the horse goes, oh, ick. And then the pattern of, I'm super frustrated with you. Why won't you connect with me? Why do you always do this? Da 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 begins.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if it's just, I've got one horse that has this huge patch of grass right outside the door of her pen. And before you even catch her, her mind is like, I'm going to pull you right over there. And I'm big and we're going there. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to remain grounded. I'm going to be this magnetic, attractive presence. And I'm going to say, no, you're not going to do that. And if she hits the end of the lead rope and I have to pull her back, I will. But I'm going to give her 15 other ways of grounded connection of, hey, we're going to walk right by that without you pulling me. But I get to see her once a month. Her owner does that once a day. Her owner's sick and fed up. That interaction puts both of them up in their adrenaline state of being pissed off at each other, and they've literally just gotten there and just started the day.
Mm-hmm.
So recognizing those patterns and understanding, like, we can't force a horse to come down out of their sympathetic nervous system. We can't. But we can work on us and become something that they can attune to. And it is boring, unglamorous work, but some of the most powerful work that you can do. Let's pause for a moment. Have you ever looked at your horse and wondered if they're thriving in your care? Is there more you can do to give them the best life possible? Most ranches and boarding facilities are set up for convenience, not horse health, but there's tons you can do to fix your horse's situation if you're willing to get creative. Join Evidence-Based Horsekeeping, my Facebook group where members learn how to improve the mental and physical well-being of their horses. The link is in the show notes.
So you can't make a horse get out of their sympathetic nervous system, but you can guide them. And Laura started by saying, by being, that aware and that present, I call it being the grounding rod for them to match your energy,
Mm-hmm.
and we always talk about the three awarenesses, right? Self-awareness, horse awareness, environment awareness. That it begins with self and recognizing when you're taking short, shallow breaths. So many people, first of all, are completely unaware of how they're breathing. I am going to go out on a limb and say I bet 90% of humanity breathes short, shallow breaths, and they don't know it. So when we start teaching to start taking deep belly breaths, people literally get dizzy. And then that scares them and triggers that sympathetic nervous system that it's not safe. But what's really happening is when you take those deep belly breaths, you're actually giving your body, all of your body, the oxygen and the blood that it really needs on a regular basis. And that scares the bejesus out of the sympathetic nervous system, that survival mode. Parasympathetic is thriving mode. And so many of us do this. If you drive to your horse or you're getting ready to go out and see your horse that you live with, notice before you start to go outside, what happens to your breath? I'm aware that I know when I'm going to work with one of my semi-wilds or I'm going to work with somebody that's a restart, their horse has severe issues that are potentially dangerous. I am aware that morning as I'm drinking coffee, thinking about the day, that I'm starting to go into that sympathetic nervous system because I know what I'm about to embark on. And then taking the time to practice and deep belly breathe and go, yes, sympathetic nervous system, I am aware of that. And we are going to do everything we can to stay grounded and manage the entire container through our own breath and awareness. And then I'm aware of the horse. Is the horse taking short, shallow breaths? Is there tension in their face? Is the owner taking short, shallow breaths? That's the environment, right? So now I'm aware of me, I'm aware of the horse, and the environment includes the owner or the people. But we can only control ourselves is one truth, but there's another truth to that. We can literally control our environment and the horses within it by controlling ourselves. Or the flip side of that is we can create a total shit show.
Yes.
because we're not in control of ourselves. I mean, you've seen it, right? Let's talk. Let's talk fun scenario. How many times have you walked into a room of people, or you're in a room with people, and in walks that person who's totally in their sympathetic nervous system, out of control, all reactive, and you watch the energy in the room just match it.
Like
Some
start to
can,
boil.
yeah,
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
constrict and get smaller and shrink because they don't want to be on it, and others match it, right? Depending
Right.
on where they're used to being. Or, you know that one person that every time they walk into the room, it just lights up. It just calms down. It just feels so good. You gravitate to them. That's the difference of regulated nervous system and deregulated nervous system. And it's the same with horses. Let's talk about my herd, Laura. We have Dreamcatcher and Dakota, who everybody gravitates to, and they gravitate to everybody. Dakota puts her forehead on the back of somebody's heart chakra. Dreamcatcher, that's Dakota's way, right? I'm going to just give you my zen through my third eye into your heart. We're just going straight for that deep connection. Where Dreamcatcher is, and Laura has experienced this personally, and maybe
Yep.
we'll even post this picture on this podcast, is Dreamcatcher goes to the root of the problem.
Yep.
She wants her root chakra, aka butt, on the back of your heart chakra.
Yep.
Now I'm doing some deep heart work personally and learning that the center of my heart is where trust and truth resides. The front of my heart is for giving and the back of my heart is for receiving. So knowing that as I'm doing my own personal work and witnessing my two Zen mares work their magic on the back of the heart, they never go to the front. They always go to the back. They are regulated and grounded and offering the women that we work with the opportunity to receive their grounded, regulated, parasympathetic, endorphins, serotonin, beautiful energy.
Yep.
And then comes Harry, my little Mustang, who was rescued from the wild at 5 days of age. And so his nervous system did not develop as it should have. And he spends more time deregulated in sympathetic nervous system than in parasympathetic. We get him there occasionally, and he's like, whoa. Actually, it kind of scares him because he doesn't know what to do with those chemicals. And that's true for people as well. But Harry is all over the place. So I have to be extra zen, extra regulated,
Yep.
super deeply grounded in order to hope that we can find a neutral place together. And it's hard because he puts me, some of his behavior can be very dangerous. And so I watch myself go sympathetic, no breathe, parasympathetic, sympathetic, no, neutral. Let's just try neutral. Sympathetic, neutral, Cindy, sympathetic. So I'm watching myself go up and down, all the while I'm trying to help him find the space in his body.
Right.
And the way that I do that is I interrupt his chaotic energy by asking him, can you simply move your butt? Can you simply do a half a circle and move your butt and go the opposite half circle? I have to give his mind something to focus on. And when I can get that mind focusing, you'll watch his head begin to dip down to that neutral zone, which is pull, withers, butt, hip, all in that straight line, or dipping down below his withers, which is for horses, everybody, is when you know they're in the parasympathetic nervous system. And as soon as he gets there, I shut up. I stop. And I can't stop abruptly because then he's like, what? It has to be a
Pulling back out. Yeah.
smooth transition, like you're coming up to a stoplight with a glass of water in your horse trailer and you're not allowed to tip it. That's how smooth you make that transition. So that's how we help them learn, one, to get out of sympathetic nervous system, but two, to recognize that not only are they safe in their parasympathetic, it actually feels better. And that's hard because Laura and I have this conversation often. We observe it every day. Our horses are not taught anything in the parasympathetic nervous system.
Yep.
The average horse is taught with their head above their withers. The minute their head comes up above their withers, your horse is now in sympathetic nervous system, adrenaline, cortisol, fight or flight arousal. Now think about that, everybody. Think about that long and hard. Observe your horse. Observe yourself working with your horse. That's the horse awareness.
Observe the horses around your horse and your horse in their life when you're not doing anything with them.
That's beautiful. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A couple of my clients are out at a different barn at training right now. And I went out and trimmed them a couple weeks ago, last week maybe. And I don't ever know what I'm walking into in those situations. And it was
True.
just such a beautiful surprise to pull up to this facility that had huge pastures and happy horses. You know, when you just step out of the car at a facility and it just like your heart just swells 2 sizes bigger?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
They're rare.
rare. That is so rare for a training facility. And I had prepped myself for those horses to be in a heightened state, for them to be unseated from home, learning new things, not feeling comfortable. And I was just so pleasantly surprised with that. But, if you're looking at boarding facilities, at training facilities, at trainers, look around. Where are those horses operating from? Just existing.
Mm-hmm. Are they standing in their stall mostly with their heads high?
Yeah.
Are they out to pasture with their heads high?
Yeah.
You know?
Are they running like erratically? Are they fighting or are they playing?
How many horses have vices?
Yeah.
I've been to facilities that 60% of the horses boarding there long term have one form of a vice or another.
They crib, they pace, they weave. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's very cool, Laura. I want to build on something that you said. When we drive into a facility and we get out of the car and we take a sigh of relief
Mm-hmm.
because of how that environment feels. So there's your environment awareness. How do you feel? We have all walked into a room and you could cut the tension with a knife. And we have all walked into that room where you're like, what's going on? It like is so calm in here, you know? So what Laura felt when she got out of her car at that environment, at that training facility, was that, whoa, there's no tension here.
Yeah.
Because feel is as important as part of our self-awareness with horses, you guys, because they feel us the minute the minute we open our door. So can we feel the minute we open our door?
And in this conversation of, we're asking you to asking you to look at you and your horse. What's your environment like in your house, in your workplace?
Mm-hmm.
And what in that environment feels good, and what in that environment is causing you to lose your grounded peace, and what can you do about it?
That's so powerful, Laura. You know, there was a time when I started this journey. Actually, I was probably deep into it, like 10 or 12 years into it. And I noticed when I was driving home, I was becoming more stressed. And by the time and God, my poor kids, by the time I got out of the car and walked into the house, I was fit to be tied and angry and agitated and that was because I was in my survival mode. I was a mom. I was newly married, newly relocated, started a new business. I had all the justifications for it. And I didn't know how to do anything with it. But Laura is touching on something so important. Our home should be our zen.
I mean, look at Cindy. She's on this huge journey of finding her place of Zen.
Yeah. I mean, I'm living in a 29-foot RV with 3 cats, one wild who's taught the cat dogs how to clear the room with a look. And there's only 2 rooms and a bathroom. They go high. They go to the couch or the bed. And 2 dogs and my husband.
Even
Please.
that, is that more of a place of Zen?
It is than where
Yes,
I came from
yes.
because I was in such survival mode. I mean, being in this little container has really taught me to take some deep dives into this vessel I call Cindy and recognizing when I go out to my horses, when I'm in my sympathetic nervous system, because it's not ideal. It's perfect for now,
Yep.
but it's not my long-term dream. And right now, they're fine. They've been there for 6 months. Can you believe that? They've been there
Right.
for 6 months and they're like, okay, this is life. And how I show up makes a difference.
They're not counting 6 months. They just know life hasn't changed in a while and that feels good.
Yeah.
If
And oh,
Cindy counts 6 months, 6 months in one week, 6 months, 7 months, and carries that tension into that space, they're going to pick it up.
yeah.
But they're not going to pick it up if she doesn't pick it up.
And Laura was talking about, being aware of what's going on inside of us when we're driving to see our horses or we're getting ready to go out and see our horses. What's the mind doing? Is it
Mine's
blah
doing
blah blah blah
to-do
blah blah
lists.
blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah
What
blah,
needs to
or
get done today?
running through your mind what that conversation you just had with somebody or what the conversation is going to be that you might have or freaking I find myself I've got myself these last several days running conversations through my freaking mind that I had with my dysfunctional siblings when I was 11.
Oh, helpful.
I had to stop when I was shoveling poop yesterday and literally laugh at myself. Like, how is that going to help me find my sanctuary? How is that helping my horses feel right now as I'm shoveling their poop around them? Like, really?
Yep. But that awareness,
Yep.
like there's not I think there are very few humans who get to live their life effortlessly in their parasympathetic nervous system all day long without trying.
Right.
That's a level of enlightenment that very few of us reach, if any. But the ability to become aware of it and then become the observer and step yourself outside and be like, oh, there you go again, silly head, is really powerful and work that any one of us can start doing right now today.
Yep. And what she said, the way that you do that is the first thing you do is you observe. And then, like I do with Harry, I first take a deep breath. I get me grounded so that I can interrupt the pattern of the monkey mind, the lizard brain. Laura and I have our own little terms, and they're both very cool terms. Um, And then you give it something else to do. So, like what I'm doing right now, when I start to spiral over my current condition and situation, is I will take a deep breath and go, okay, I hear you talking about the 11-year-old conversation, or the horses deserve better, or I'm tired of having to take the litter box out of the shower so I can vacuum the shower and take a shower every day. We do that. Okay. Does that help running that through my mind and putting me in sympathetic nervous system? Does that help me get to where I want to go? And the answer is usually no. If I'm not being pouty, sometimes it's that no. And I laugh. Okay, you can be pissy if you want. But what else? What could we think about? Like, what do we want our new house to look like?
Yeah.
What view do we want to see? How will we move the horses from point A to point B when point A has all their shelters and pens and panels? And what if point B doesn't have it? How do we get the horses out of them and there to get them there and put them
Oh,
in? Okay, you want something to think about. That's productive.
yeah.
And that may or may not put you into sympathetic, but if it does, then you kind of laugh and go, no, 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 no. This isn't an emergency. We're not solving this like right now.
Right.
We're
This is
dreaming,
creative thinking
right? We're
from a
imagination,
grounded place. Yes.
right?
Yes.
We're like a horse grazing in a pasture, thinking about, am I going to graze over there or should I go lay under the tree? You know. So it's like being the observer. It's like training. Okay, we're going to go back to the horse. We are all here with horses. Laura is in training to be a hoof care specialist. And some days she's amazing, and some days she's like, I'm never going to get this. You know, I'm in transition right now in what I do with my career. And I first I have to train my mind. I have to let my sympathetic nervous system know, no, this is really where we belong. And it's okay. It's okay. We don't have to fall into the mold that even we thought we belonged in a year ago.
Right.
So it's the training. Remember that we have been trained, we have been taught, really, literally, we have been taught from a very young age to live in our sympathetic nervous system. I'm a multitasker. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a career woman, I'm a this, I'm a that, you know? It's the labels that has put us into that overproducing
Yeah.
because we need our sympathetic nervous system. Okay. If you want to go from a resting state to get up and walk briskly to the other side of your pen or your pasture, you have to get into a little bit of that sympathetic nervous system to get enough adrenaline and enough serotonin to feed the muscles and the lungs and the heart for more activity. So the sympathetic nervous system is not a bad place to be. And we can become parasympathetic junkies where we don't want to do anything because then that releases adrenaline and I feel stressed and I don't want to be there. So I just want to meditate all day. So both can be bad, but it's finding that neutral. It's that I loved it's a pendulum, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we need to be in parasympathetic. Sometimes we need to be in sympathetic. Sometimes our horses need to wax and wane, but it's always the pendulum always comes back to that center space. And that's where the training comes is learning to be regulated in your nervous system not only is going to make you sleep better, feel better, more alert, live longer.
Communicate better. You won't say things that you regret later.
Mhm.
That's a huge one. You won't do things to your horse that you regret later.
It's going to give you inner peace more frequently. Again, inner peace is not something that we get and we never leave. That's not living. That's not growing.
Yeah.
Okay? That's stagnation. But when we find that inner peace, we want to come back. We want to get more. And when we find that inner peace with our horses and they get to feel that inner peace within them, everybody, that is the golden nugget. That is the deep connection. That is what makes your horse see you from the other side of the pen or the pasture and come to you. That's where liberty work. That is the root of liberty work, because your horse chooses your inner peace and the way you make them feel over anything and everything else. That's what the nervous system regulation can do. And like everything in life, like the seasons, the weather, it's a constant change. It's a constant rhythm of, I guess I see the pendulum again, right? Laura, what do you think on all of that?
The awareness and the acceptance of where the pendulum is at is, again, the key to the change that most people want.
Yep, I agree. Balance.
Yeah. And balance doesn't mean that your pendulum is in the center all the time.
Mm-mm.
It just means that you're aware of when it's there and you're aware of when it's on one side or the other, and you are flowing and adjusting your expectations and your asks and all of your life with that.
And you know, the more that I work with this personally, the more that center for me is that inner peace. And I'm aware of when I'm going into parasympathetic or into sympathetic. And I acknowledge it and I witness it, because like I said, we need both. I try not to judge it. And I trust that I can, through my breath and my awareness and my intention and my practice, AKA training, I can return to it quicker and quicker and quicker.
Yeah.
And what I'm also noticing is that I don't go as far back to the pendulum. I don't swing as far to either side based on what's going on in my environment. I can go, okay, this is swinging me over to the S side, not the P side. But how far do I go is in my control through my breath and my intention and my awareness.
It's spring, and there's probably an air of excitement in the air. And people are going out and doing things. Maybe you're getting invites. Maybe you're having new goals. Maybe, the time to do with horses is now.
Mm-hmm.
Go out and do and have fun, but be aware of where your pendulum is and where your horse's pendulum is. And when you see things swinging too far to one side or too far to the other side, take that as your sign to rein it back in and bring you both back to center.
So if you have any questions about the topics covered in this episode, send us a message on our Facebook page, Holistic Horsemanship and Husbandry, and we will answer your question in a post on our page. You will be anonymous. We'll just take the question and provide our input, and we want to do it on the post so that we can all learn and grow together. because nobody knows everything. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. We want to remind you that we'll be here every second and fourth Tuesday of the month, following the golden rule. Have a plan, but always be willing to be flexible. Don't forget to connect with us using the links in the show notes below.
If you learned something new today, had an aha, or walked away with a valuable nugget, you can say thanks by leaving us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening on.